Oh man, you got quite the war wound.
Yeah, we'll talk about it if you want.
Yeah,
Ask me any questions too.
sure.
G'day. Welcome to the show. I'm Rob Birdsey. This is Widowed Trio and Freedom. I'm sitting down here today with James Jordan, and I'm very thankful for that. Before we get into it, you can see us on YouTube. We're going live right now, and if you go to Widowed Trio and Freedom, that's widowed. I'm a widowed dad. Trio. I have two little boys. That makes us a trio. And Freedom. I talk this so we can understand people's stories, so we can try and help us all free our minds. So, anyway. James, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is awesome. This is the first podcast I've ever been on, so this is cool.
Yeah, where did you start? We're going to talk. I'm just going to brush over this quickly. We're going to talk Iron Kids.
Sure.
And we need to know more about that, I'm sure. But you've started in a very interesting. You've said a couple of things to me about your life that I'm actually really curious about.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. So we're all on and going. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Were you raised by parents, two parents, one parent? How did all that turn out?
Yep. I was raised in Riverside, California. So I'm one of those California kids coming to Utah. Oh,
you're good. You're good. Yeah, you're good. Yep.
Yeah. So Riverside, California is where I pretty much was born and raised. I stayed there till I was 19. And then moved to Arizona. So, but yes, both parents home. I'm one of five. I'm the baby in the family. So yeah, it's I enjoyed my time there, but I'm not one of those kids that really adopted to the beach and the city life, the big city and stuff like that. We were pretty poor, so it wasn't the most ideal place for me. So
wow.
Yeah.
But, what sports did you do when you were younger?
I did soccer, and I was terrible at that. I did baseball, even worse. I did find wrestling. I got into wrestling, and that's when I kind of started to build confidence in myself and my own capabilities. But I think I gravitated towards wrestling because I got bullied a ton when I was a kid, like what you see in movies type of bullying. So not just like, oh, they called me names. I mean, they did that, but I'm like physical. Like it was crazy. I went to some pretty rough schools. So
I can relate to that. Same for me too.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to touch on this quickly. You've done some stunt work.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. What opened up that avenue? Because I've worked with some stunt guys. They're a different breed, eh? I mean, they're solid, and it's amazing to see what they do. Because you guys get pummeled so hard.
Yeah. For sure. But like I mentioned, I was living in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, and there was a Western theme park in Scottsdale called Rawhide, and I went there just to see the show. And it was a whole Western town, and they did a lot of filming out there. They had a rodeo grounds. I mean, it was really cool. It was pretty special, I feel, looking back. I didn't even realize how cool it was at the time, but they did so much tourism and made so much money. They were only second to the Grand Canyon. So that's how many people were coming from all over the world to come to Rawhide. So I went, I saw a guy doing stunts, and I was like, I think I could do what that guy is doing. And we had the same build. And at this point, I was dead set on what I was going to do with my life, and that was to be a professional wrestler, actually. So I thought this would be a good avenue. And I saw this guy who looked like me. My hair was super long, super thick at the time. And so once the show was over, I hung around and met some of the stunt guys, and I said, how do I do this? And they pointed me in the right direction of who to talk to, and I applied, and then they gave you a tryout, so to speak, but it was more so like, okay, we're gonna throw you around. And we're gonna see how, that's exactly it, to see if you can take it, type thing. And then but I did, and it went off from there, and that was my full-time job. So I was doing, if you weren't doing stunt shows at the theater, which was primarily what you did, but like I said, a lot of filming was done in Arizona. It still is. Commercials, sports events, city events. If you didn't have one of those types of gigs, music videos, if you didn't have one of those, then you were working at the stunt show. So, and it was live action. It was like maybe, I think it was a half hour, if I remember right. Maybe 40 minutes long stunt show.
Sure.
And it was outdoors. So yeah, it was a really good time. And the theater could hold like about 500, maybe sometimes I think close to 1,000 we had in there. So it was pretty fun.
Isn't that funny? Like when you get around, I never knew this until I got on stage and performed, but when you get in those big houses, the energy that comes at you is amazing, huh?
Oh yeah.
Just feeds you. It's like you think
really
you're going out at 80%, next year you're 120 out there and going for it.
And the opposite. Like
Yep.
when they are not clicking or when they are not into it. One time, I'll tell you this real quick. It was the last show of the evening. We typically, on a regular day, had like 4 shows that we had to do. And they rotated between different shows. It was the last show. It was raining. It's an outdoor theater. And we're thinking, okay, no one, the town was dead. Nobody was there. And we thought, okay, we're going to get out early. We're going to clean up the set, cover everything, and get dressed and go home. And this was like 10 o'clock at night. And so we're like, okay, it's almost 10, no one shows up. And then last minute, this couple walks in. This young couple walks in. They paid their money, they sat down. It was only those two.
Wow.
Only those two. And like I said, it was raining. They had an umbrella, and we're out there going through the motions. And I remember coming out there, and I was one of the guys that just, for this particular show, who just got my butt kicked the entire time. And so I was like going, really, for 2 people? And then I looked over at them. They weren't even looking at us. They were busy making out while we're just standing there doing our thing. And then we all could see it. So we blazed through that stunt show. The worst stunts, I have to admit, I ever did, because I don't even know why they came in, but it was pretty funny. Like I said, a half hour, 40-minute show. I think we got through it in like 15 minutes.
Sounds like it should have been like a music video or something about love or whatever, with all this chaos going on in the background. They're just too focused on each other or something.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, but because of the speed at which we went, and then we're not even sticking to our lines. It was fun though. It was fun. And they, after the show was over, they were like, "Oh, that was awesome. Thank you." And I was like,
Thank you for the ambiance while we kissed.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so let's get, I was just so curious about that. I find stunts interesting. I was going to like a TAFE college in Australia when I was a kid, and I had no idea what I was going to do, and I'm searching everything out what I shouldn't do, and I come across this one guy. We started hanging out. He had this 240 SX car, this Nissan. We just, we thought we were so cool cruising around, and then he says to me, "Hey, I do stunts." And I'm like, "Cool, man. I've never seen this." He goes, "You want to come and watch?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So I go, and it's this place called Australia's Wonderland, and they had kind of the same thing, shows and rides and stuff, Okay. And man, I was like, "Oh, how do I do?" And at the time, I was a little chubby. And I'm watching this guy just do a flip after flip after flip after flip, and I'm like, I would love to do it, but it just seems like that's way out of my lane. Kind of now looking back at it, I think that was the universe just like, hey, you could do this.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And he would have been my in, and I would have got it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kind of, I'm a little bit, I'm going to turn mine on Do Not Disturb too. I look back at that now, and I would love for people out there to understand that, man, you know, God, universe, or whatever you want to call it, he's just going to hint at you like, hey, you might be good at this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there is a physical element to me that I love. You know what I mean? Like I've never been trained or anything, but like when my wife first died, and I talked about this the other day, but we went with my buddy up north, up in Idaho, and we're doing tubing. And we pulled over one section, and they're all having beers and stuff like that. And there's a humongous rock, and everyone's jumping off the rock. Oh. You know, and my buddy goes, "Hey, you want a beer?" And he asked me if I bought any. I said, "No, I didn't bring none." And he goes, "Do you want one?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Go jump off that rock." And he looked at my boy. He said, "Make him jump off that rock, and I'll give him a beer." And you know, it was a whole dare type thing.
Right.
And then my son's like, "You can jump off that?" And I'm like, "I'm scared of heights."
Yeah, me too, actually.
So I'm like, "Sure." And I get up there, and I don't know what it was, man, but they're all watching me. And I'm up there, and just as I'm just about to jump off, I turn around and just done a backflip in.
What?
I don't know what it was, man. I had to do it, and I landed it perfect. And my boys just thought I was like, "Oh," you know, it was so much
awesome.
fun.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and my kids see me do things like that.
Yeah, no, that's way cool. And you know what you touched on as far as the universe, God, hinting at you. I absolutely believe that. And I can give you an example real quick with stunts. So I still am active, just very, very, I'll only work, at least that's what I say now, unless something fantastic comes up, I'll only work with the people that I know. And that's the people that I worked with at Rawhide. They're still producing, making films, directing. The last film that I was in was, I want to say maybe 2022, 23. I think maybe it was 23. Regardless, it was out in Arizona again.
2023.
2023.
Okay.
So,
I'm like 23 years ago.
Sorry. 2023.
Wow, that's cool. So you're active.
Yeah. And I asked if my son could be a part, if they could find something for him. And they said, sure. And I was like, and how about his best friend, who they thought I was pushing it, but they were like, no, that'd be way cool. So we went out there, and I'm sorry, it wasn't this film, it was the film before. They were in 2 films. So it was the film before. And we went out there and did a bunch of stunts. They got to go to wardrobe and makeup, and for whatever reason, they got chosen to do an old-timey boxing match, you know, bare knuckle box. Yeah, exactly. So they had to do the makeup and get, you know, bloodied up and everything like that.
They loved that, didn't they?
They did. They really did. And then there was the next day or something like that, there was a fight, a shootout, and one of my son's best friend, Burgess, he got hooked up in a rig. He was going to get shot by a shotgun, and so so basically they yank him back to create that effect of he's just getting blasted. So he did that a few times, and I could see it in his eyes. He loved it. And he nailed it too. And then the next film, he got the bug right then. And so the next film, it was a bar scene. And one of the actors and Stuntman, his name's Russ. He basically tossed Burgess very lightly though, because Burgess kind of did his own thing, and he hit the bar, flipped over the bar, hit the wall, fell down. I mean, it was great. It was fantastic. And same thing with my son. He got a little bit of the bug, but he's more pro wrestling focused, and that's what he's doing now. But back to Burgess, he really wanted to make a go of the stunt world, and things just started to open up for him. That was like crazy. but it was kind of like what you said. It's like, hey, you can move in this direction, and if you do, I think he would find success.
Yeah.
Because somehow he got asked to come out to do a movie and be a stand-in. I'm not sure if he would do any stunts for this particular movie, but the movie ended up going to becoming nominated for Best Picture.
Wow.
And but unfortunately, Burgess drove out there, and this was back in 2021 maybe, and somebody got COVID on the set, so they shut the whole thing down, and he couldn't wait around. But that opportunity came to him, and then he got like thing after thing after thing, and I kept telling him, I'm like, the universe is kind of pushing you in this direction.
Highlighting
but you got to be aggressive. You got to go after it. You can't just let those little things lay in your lap and do nothing with it. You got to put in the work too.
No, I totally. How old are these boys? Because I'm when you said your son, I'm thinking little ones, but they're not so little, huh?
No, my son's 25. They're both 25.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. That's all. You have no idea, or they have no. You have an idea. They have no idea on how hard it is to get in that tight knit group.
Yeah.
It takes so much time grinding, and especially like if you're in LA or wherever you are, to get involved in the. They like your attitude if you work on, and if you do anything, it doesn't matter. If you're good at what you do and you've got a great attitude, they will pull you in. Like what you said, he might be stand-in. So when they're setting up shots and things and getting the cameras all set up, it's a boring, thankless job, and no one will ever see you. But it's the crew that you're working with that understand that you're there.
Yes.
And they are so tight. I've got a lot of friends in Hollywood. I've been on a lot of different sets, and I've watched it, and I've seen it from like the bare bones. I mean, I went in there. I'd never been on a set until I went as an extra. You know what I mean? And having a good outlook to being an extra and things like that. You know what I mean? That's tricky because there's a lot of people that are very mentally unstable. And they guarded that line between extra versus working on a set to work for us. I got called in. I did some PA work, and
nice.
I also once a couple of the guys I worked with before as a first AD and things like that. He saw me, and I was on the set of Community one night. It was I think it was the third or second last episode of Community.
Oh,
they had like this. What was it? Oh, what's that? We had to say Eat Fresh, but it's the Subway. So it was sponsored by Subway just to get through these things. And they were just pushing Subway like there was no tomorrow. But they had a bunch of different stars that whole night, and it was a grind. So all the extras were trapped in this area. And this first AD that I knew, I'm sitting there with a couple of very well-known people. And it was a couple of them that were fairly old. And he just wanted to be sitting and just chilling, and someone could call him when he's ready. He didn't want to be bothered. Although he said to me, he goes, would you sit with me and talk with me? I said, I've got to go back over there. And he called the first AD over. He goes, do you know this kid? And the first AD, oh yeah, Rob's a good guy, He goes, can he sit here with me while I'm waiting? Oh yeah, no worries. I just thought that was so cool.
Really cool.
I got to meet Joel McHale and all those. Man, that guy is huge too, by the way.
Oh, I
but
believe
all
it.
of them are so, like, it was just so much fun. But when you break that barrier, it's such a grind. It's a thankless job, and you don't get paid much money at all.
Right.
But doing that conversion is so worth it,
Oh, for sure. And there is something to the whole experience that a tight-knit group can understand and knows. And I think that's pretty special if anyone can get in there and be a part of that, because let's face it, not everybody can, everybody's willing to, and not everyone is willing to put in that work, whether it's extra, the waiting around, even for me as the stuntman for this last, the last film, I got there at 3. We didn't, my scene that I was doing stunts in they didn't film it till 3:30 in the morning, somewhere around there.
And you were there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And I was there at 3 in the afternoon. And so that waiting around, that is rough.
It's rough. It's a grind. I mean, the good thing is you got Crafty. They always put a good spread on. They always try to make sure that you're always fed and satisfied, Yeah. But there's some grueling shoots, man, especially on a lot of I don't know, people probably don't even notice this, but when you're working on movies, when you go watch a movie, I'd say 85 to 90% of the time, that movie's shot in the dark. Which means you're there from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to make sure you get there, and they usually pull you in at least 3 to 4 hours before anything starts, just so they know that they have you, and if they don't have you, get another one.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they have to have that cushioning. You know, it's not like the stars just show up and go. They show up just as early, or sometimes even earlier if they got to get in makeup and change everything up.
Oh yeah.
It's fun to see. It's such especially like what you're saying, being in an environment like that, where it's so condensed, but it's a whole, I mean, it's an entourage of an army to get this thing going.
Sure.
It's part of the reason. I'll just say one more thing about it and we'll move on. But you'll see stars that rise and they disappear. And it's because they don't play in a team sport. They're all about themselves.
Oh yeah.
And like once they get a bit of light on them, it changes people, man. I've seen some guys that were great guys. They got the light shine on them, done a few episodes of this and that, and you don't see them anymore.
Right.
Their head just gets so big.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man, you know, I met another stunt guy like that, and we were conversing and chatting, and I found him on Facebook. So, I friend you on Facebook, and then he looked at me like I was a weirdo. Like, oh no, I just wanted to pick your brain, man. You know what I mean? Like, no malice.
Right.
And then he gave me the stink eye. I was like, oh, you suck. You know? That's just the bothersome, you know?
I know. It does change people a little, like you said, a little bit of that spotlight. If you don't stay humble and grounded, then...
Humble is key. And I tell you, the biggest stars that you see in the world, they are the nicest people you'll ever meet. Sure, you might find them and you might see some videos of them being, you know, at a restaurant. Don't bother them at a restaurant, man. They're at a restaurant with their family, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Could you imagine the entourage on you if you'd be the same?
Yeah.
For most people, I think you don't realize that until you're in the thick of it. But.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, I've met some celebrities on set and that kind of a thing. And most of the time I was like, well, I'm not going to bother them. I'm just going to stand over here, wait for my cue to die or
whatever you gotta do,
or get smacked in the face, whatever, kicked in the stomach. My world where I actually spoke to and could pick their brain was the pro wrestling.
Oh, nice.
And for the most part, most of the guys that I met are really cool and they want to help. There's a few that are just like, don't bother me, you know, and I'm not even going to chalk that up to that's how they are. That might have been
work.
Yep.
They're at work and they have a process, and sometimes they need to push people. I get that too, you know.
Yeah.
There's always a time and a place.
Yeah,
but
for
when it's a common ground, you know, like sometimes it's eating food. I mean, they make the best salmon and things like that. You know,
right. I know.
Craft services. Oh my goodness, shout out to those guys.
Yep.
But you know, that's where I've sat down. I mean, I did a commercial once what I was featured in. And I worked with the guy that shot The Matrix, and he's from Australia too. And he actually said, "Hey, get that Australian over here. I want to chat with him." So I sat with him at lunch, and I was like, "Man,
that's way cool."
I just picked his brain on how he did all the shots and how many cameras they used. He used thousands of cameras, man.
Yeah,
it was it's fun to do. Yeah, it's a different environment. You know, if you're into it, go do it.
Yeah, and when you have someone who's willing to teach or willing to pass on that knowledge, that's way cool.
And a lot of them will.
Yeah.
You know, that's especially if they see something in you or they see that you have that drive. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you spent was it 18, 19 years or 17 years? Sorry. In Riverside.
19.
Okay.
19.
Riverside's a rough and tumble place. Shout out to all those guys out there. You gotta have thick skin to live there. I mean, there's houses that have been shot up and everything, right?
Oh yeah, and you know, Riverside has its nicer places, but back in the 80s, we couldn't wear the color blue or red.
Yeah, I remember watching that from Colors and all that stuff.
Yeah, in the middle school, we couldn't wear hats anymore. I remember them making a big announcement. Because we had gangs that were affiliated with, you know, Bloods and Crips in our middle school, and me being a huge nerd and like just a toothpick, you know, I was a target for those types of people. So
yeah, and I mean, you're not small either. You're fairly tall, right? Were you just always a string bean growing up?
Yeah.
You stuck out of the crowd. Hey, let's get the big kid.
Well, it was, and even the taller, like I don't know. I got beat up by everybody.
No one discriminated against you.
Nope. The heavy metal guys, you know. Actually, it was pretty wild. You know, I really tried to navigate going to school and getting to my classes, but back then I really feel like, and in those areas, like I remember sitting in the classroom, and I was able to get into the classroom early, so that way I felt, you know, safe. And then, you know, kids start coming in. And during the class, I remember looking up across the way to the other kids, and there was this big dude. And he looked at me, and he did, you know, the whole thumb across the neck, like staring at me. And I was like, I don't even know this guy.
Yeah.
And as soon as, you know, the bell rung, I figured, I knew enough though, I better get out of there. And I couldn't, and he just decks me repeatedly in the classroom, and the teacher's like, hey, you guys, knock it off. Hey, you know.
Please stop. Can you stop that?
Yeah, but I had braces. So, you know, a
hurting.
punch to the face, and there was just blood everywhere in the you know, and that's just kind of how it was at the school I went to. So it was just, it was wild.
Yeah, I've got some friends that live in Rialto, and they have bullet holes in the side of their house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and and the funny thing is like you wouldn't even know it because the area looks very clean. There's beautiful palm trees everywhere. They have a beautiful house.
Yeah.
You know, they maintain it very well, and it's just that, you know, that gang violence happens. People do drive-bys, and it's so sad to see.
Yeah, they've cleaned up Riverside. Like if you were to go to downtown Riverside, they've cleaned it up. But what they've done is they've moved the homeless and, you know, people like that. They've moved them out and kind of down in a riverbed. But it's a huge community.
Where's
like if
that?
you, it's right outside. Okay, so downtown Riverside is kind of, it buds up next to Rubidoux. And if you were to drive just a little bit into Rubidoux, you can see this homeless community, but they have their own government. They have their own their own barter system, or it is not something like
Kind of
just
like
a
prison
small.
in a sense.
Yeah, it's like all these tents, and it's massive.
Yeah, it's
but
so sad.
but you know, they wanted to clean up Riverside, not downtown Riverside, and it is nice, but
you just go over there, we're good.
Yeah, you just go a little bit. I think a little bit north of, or maybe south of Riverside, and you'll see it.
Yeah, well, it's the same as like if anyone has ever been to Disneyland, it's so pretty around that area.
Yeah.
But the moment you drive 2 blocks anywhere away from Disneyland, they call that Anacrime.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because Anaheim is Anacrime, and it's a crazy. You wouldn't even know it. You wouldn't even know it.
And that's why, you know, I knew I wanted to get out of California in general, because I lived in Northern and Southern California, of course, and I kind of find it to be the same, no matter where.
Whereabouts north did you live?
Sacramento.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So originally when I got there, it was like Marin County, so right outside, like say San Francisco, just right outside. But that didn't work out, and so I mean I was so poor.
Yeah.
and then I moved to Sacramento. So.
Yeah, and Sacramento is just a little bit inland from San Francisco. If anyone out there don't know where that is. That's the capital, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful place. I've had the opportunity. I come here in 2006.
Okay.
And in 2007, I spent some time with my cousin from Australia. Had a friend that she worked with, and her brother lived in San Francisco, and all he done was bathrooms. But this guy was an artist. Like he'd come in with. He would do all paint, whatever you want, like full detail rainforest and just really high end stuff.
Yeah.
And it was fun to I hung out with him quite a bit. He took me all over, and it was a beautiful place back then. And like the pier was amazing, and the whole place was happening. Everyone was there. It was so busy, everything. We went there last year. This time, or just a bit before, but this time last year with my boys, we went to see an A's game before they shut that place down.
Oh, okay.
And we went up there with a buddy of mine, Richie Cole. Shout out to that guy, he's awesome. But we were there, and man, it was nothing like it used. Like the Giardelli place, most of the stuff they had for that used shut down. Everything's all shut down, and it was just empty. You know, and just it didn't. I know there was areas where we shouldn't have ever went, so we didn't. You know what I mean? So we already
Sure.
knew to steer clear. But I mean, the horror stories that are coming out of that place right now are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
for
needs to
sure.
be cleaned up.
Yep.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
It's sad through the years, America had lots of places where the mentally ill would go, and asylums and things like that, just because they need that extra care.
Oh yeah.
And there's nothing out there. And that those places now have turned into jails,
Oh, yeah.
or prisons and things like that. And that to me is just weird.
Oh yeah. My brother, he's passed away, but he was the oldest out of all of us. And he was mentally ill, and so he was on the streets in Riverside.
Oh.
But again, he kind of was in that community, But we were able to finally help him get the help he needed. And there is a place that you can go and they'll make sure you're fed, and
Shelters and things, yeah.
Yeah, this was a little better. They gave you, like, you had your own, it was a converted hotel. And so he had his own room,
Oh, okay.
and they had activities that they would do. They would help you with counseling, make sure you're staying on your meds. One of the things to be in this place is you can't be on drugs. And my brother was, which...
He was in and out.
He finally got clean. When he went there, he had enough of the streets and things like that.
Good.
So he
That's
was able
hard.
he was able to kind of sort out, his own, where he was at, and he just didn't want to be on the streets anymore. So he finally accepted the help. But forever, he did not want the help. But that was the mental illness.
Yeah,
Speaking,
there's something about that with being on drugs and things. It's that's the reason why it's so alluring, is it takes all the pain away, right?
That's it.
All the anxiety goes and things like that. I've been trying to. My kids have been sort of asking about it, because they've seen a lot of homeless, and they're trying to understand it. And my eldest is like, why do people do drugs? And it's like, well, you know what? You get anxiety from time to time, right? And he's like, oh yeah, and he has since his mum passed away,
Sure.
And I say to him, well, that's to tune that voice out. They take drugs, and it's also almost an instant wash. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that makes them comfortable.
Yep.
The problem is everything that comes with that is really bad.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly what my brother would say, is like he would hear voices.
Yeah.
And so I remember when he did live at home, because he went undiagnosed for years and years. I mean, in the 80s.
Do you know what it was?
He was bipolar and schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
Pretty wild.
Yep.
And so he would plug the, back in the day, you had the wired headphones, and you plug it into the stereo, and the big headphones, and he would crank up the music. And I didn't know till later, much later, when I was an adult, like why he would listen to music that loud. I get it. I listen to music pretty loud too.
Sure.
But he was trying to drown out the voices
out.
that he was hearing. So, I think there's a misconception that if you're homeless, then you're just, and you're asking for money or something like that, then, you're just doing it to buy your drugs and your alcohol, which could be,
Sure.
there is that for sure. I'm not saying that there isn't, but there's also the other side, that these people are dealing with. And this is why, some of the reasons why they do that in the first place. So it's not an easy fix, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
And then you get the people that are abusing the whole situation and trying to, pull on your heartstrings to give them money. And, it's not easy. But what I did know, because I ended up looking for my brother because he was gone for like 7 years. I didn't know if he was alive or dead.
Oh man, that's frustrating. Yeah.
So I went and found him. I heard that somebody saw him, and he still was in Riverside. Like my cousin said, yeah, I see Brian, every now and then. So I went to go find him. And so doing that, I kind of, got into how I got a good look at how the homeless live and the drug scene.
They need help.
Yeah, it's because my brother was not one of those guys that would hold a sign. He, and most of them, a lot of them do, they get a check from a disability check, and he knew when he got his money, and he'd go and cash it, and then it was like, okay, I'm gonna buy new clothes, I'm gonna buy food, I'm gonna get a hotel for a week, and then he would buy food for all his friends and stuff like that.
So he had a very generous heart too.
Yeah, absolutely. So he wasn't the type, and many are like that, who are really mentally ill. They don't know, they're not going to make that sign.
They don't have the synapses to even draw the conclusion to what they need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So when I found him, we were finally able to kind of move towards getting him the proper help. And so when we finally did, he was in there for maybe, I don't even think, a year. And then he had a brain aneurysm. He got clean, had a brain aneurysm, and died. So
maybe that was his goal to achieve,
Could be.
Yeah.
It could be, how at least that during that time that he was there, he was, for the most part, off drugs at least, and he was on meth.
Oh, yeah, and that thing's just a killer. Straight up. Once it's got it, it's almost not as bad as heroin, but not just almost.
Yeah.
I grew up with a lot of drug use around where I was at and things, and it was horrible. I smoked a lot of pot. That's that was me.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when I was diagnosed, because I thought I was bipolar, and I went to the doctor and I was like, man, I'm done with this. I want off all of this stuff. You know what I mean? And I would do a little bit of speed.
Uh-huh.
We didn't have cocaine over there unless you're like mega rich. So, in Australia.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
we don't have no Colombia just down the road. You know what I mean?
Oh, that is too funny. I guess. Yeah, I never thought.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Wild.
If you were high, I'd been in rooms where it was there, and people are very well to do had it. But
Sure.
it's not a proud moment of me. It's
yeah.
something that I don't really want to talk about, but I think it might help some people. So I'll say a few things. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
I went to the doctor and I was like, I literally I stopped. I stopped doing speed, and I stopped smoking pot. And what I didn't understand at the time, the anxiety that I had came in the shape of voice, the thoughts that would come to your head, wouldn't stop. And I'm like, oh man, but what I hadn't realized is I hadn't dealt with it for the longest time. I never had a therapist up to that point. They put this whole head thing and all these little electrodes all over my head with these little gel underneath. And I'm on a computer and I'm doing all these tests.
Oh,
it was like, they had a whole thing for it. Like over here, they just ask you questions. Oh yeah, your criteria ADHD. But I did the test and the doctor's like, well, we did find something. And I was like, oh, that's great. I'm bipolar, aren't I? Because my uncle is.
Oh,
and he's like, no, you're not bipolar. I can guarantee that. But you are ADHD. And that opened up avenues. And just as I found out that, it was the year before I left Australia to come to America.
Oh, wow.
I've always had a clean record. I live off the principle of no, you do right. Even when I wasn't doing the greatest things, I would always look after the fellow man.
Sure.
So I think that kind of was my saving grace in a sense. But I always had the one thing I will say about, and I used to do a little bit of ecstasy when we'd go nightclubbing and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But in my head, like all my buddies, we'd call them lollies. We'd take some candy lollies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Take a lolly and off we go. We're having a great time. Everything's fun. And then my buddy would be like, hey, lolly up, number 2, come on.
Oh, wow.
I'd grab a Tic Tac. But the voice in my head was, you need your brain for later on, man. Yeah. Like you're going to do some things for people and it's going to be good. And I had no idea where that come from. I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
I believe it.
But I listened to it, man, because it was like my little Jiminy Cricket. I tell you what, that voice in particular was so small. And it was just, that's why it got all my attention. It's almost like I felt like if I didn't listen to it, I would snuff that voice out and the louder voices would overtake, and then I would be in who knows where.
Right.
Maybe jail. I have no idea. It wasn't great.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my life wasn't fun at the time.
Oh, no,
So-
I totally get it. Like in the Stuntman days, for me, it was alcohol because, oh, man, it was...
It's socially accepting for starters, which makes it even harder to get rid of.
Yeah. And, the entertainment business, wild.
They all thrive on, if you
Wild.
drink with them, then they know you're a comrade.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy. We even So we were supposed to go over to Taiwan to do a gig for, I think it was like 6 months or something like that. I forget
Wow.
exactly how long I was supposed to be gone. But everything was in place, got the passport, did some training for it and stuff like that. And it was a small crew that was going to go over there. And things started to change as that date got closer. Like, okay, we're going to have our own apartment over in Taiwan. And then it became like, oh no, you're going to room with another person. And then it was like another person. And I was like, well, aren't those apartments like super tiny? And so I could have dealt with that. But like I said, I just didn't have a good feeling about this gig, something about it didn't sit right with me. And then it was like health insurance. I was like, what happens? Because there was a fire element where I think if I remember right, you would have to zip line through a big thing of fire. So I was like, okay, well, what happens if something goes wrong? How am I going to be taken care of over there? And the guy in charge of it couldn't really tell me. And I was like, that for me was the thing where I'm like, I'm not going to go on this. So it was, and as it turned out, because of the accessibility of drugs over there, the guy that took my place, unfortunately, he ended up ODing and dying over there. Another guy, I think, got burned somewhat, if I remember right. Maybe not too bad from that fire stunt. So, when you're talking about that small voice, like, because there was something there like that was like, this is not sitting right with me. And, his name was Travis that died. And I remember working with him very, very little, but he was a cool person. I think about him from time to time in that whole situation, like, had I have gone, would he have stayed? Would he still be here? That kind of a thing. But that's kind of, you can't really think that way. But from time to time I do. And it just is what it is, choices and all that stuff. But also, I think for me, listening to that small voice saying, hey, this isn't for you. So
about people dying early and things like that, like obviously my wife passed away in 2020, and it's the worst thing that ever happened to me. It's the most toughest time I've ever been through. But now going through that and being who I am now, I was talking with my therapist about it and breaking down and it realized, it tweaks to me that I'm now the person I was supposed to be for my wife. Maybe that was meant to be, or for me to do a better life. I was working, chasing money and trying to provide a good life, and I was so unhappy, and I'm in hotel rooms, traveling a lot, and behind closed doors, I'm drinking or I'm, whatever. I hated it. Hated it. And I hated being away from her. And now, like, that happened and my world was shattered, but for those 3 years that I was just down and in the depths of just misery, the seed that sprouted was I'm now providing for these two little boys, and they were little. They were 4 and 2 at the time. I got coal out of diapers all by myself, all with one foul shot, no messes. You know what I mean? Like, we planned and we strategized, and like, the person I've become now is phenomenal. Like, I am so thankful. And that's the crappiest thing to say, but I mean, at the same token, that's who I am now, and I think I'm on a great path, and I hope I can help a lot of people.
No, I totally agree. Like, I think too, you look back in mistakes and all these things that you made, certainly that I made, and I'm just like, wow, what a POS person I was back then, I mean, and that's,
we have our moments.
Yeah, and I think we all do, but it does. And I'm on that same path that you're talking about, like who I am now. Now I can look back at myself and go, wow, you're doing all right. This is good. This is like you said, the person that I should have been back then, but I am now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would have become that.
Yeah.
Had I not gone where I'm at now, had I not gone through those things and made those choices and that kind of a thing.
It's the fact that you've made the right choices to get there. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on one thing the with the anxiety. We were at my therapist a few weeks back, well, a little while back, I suppose, and my kids were with me, and Jack suffers from it quite a bit, actually. You know, the voices in his head and things like that. I said, yeah, ask my therapist about it. He's really cool, you know. And so he asked Magnum, and he's an awesome guy, and he just said, all I want you to understand is when it comes and what's it there for. Right? And Jack is a very, very smart kid.
Sure,
he's
yes.
top of his classes.
Yes,
he speaks 2 languages, and he's very, very, very with it.
I believe it.
And
yeah.
I teach him as much as I can, or I go, the way how I do it is I just say, hey, it's in your wheelhouse, or it's in your pay grade, or it's not in your pay grade. You know, and
Sure.
and it's a tricky situation, but I try to educate him as much as I can, and I'm setting it up well. He understands that I don't lie to him. I'll just say, hey, it's about this, and that's all I'm going to tell you about right now. But as we get closer to you getting older, I'll tell you more.
Yeah.
And he's just so inept to it. And then we go home, and then I think he watched Harry Potter, and he yells out, "Dad!" I was like, "What?" He goes, "I've got anxiety," and I'm like, "You're looking great, bud. What's going on?" This scene is so intense. I'm full of anxiety, but it's not bad, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're seeing the differences.
Yeah.
You know, and now he's starting to like it now. And then he went to his therapist. He's built a chart. He's understanding it. He's logging it. He's doing all that stuff, you know. And I just think that's great.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hard thing to learn, man. He's what, 9 years old? Come on.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Such
he's
a
far
cool-
ahead of the game. That's just going to
I hope
benefit
so,
his
man.
life
Yeah.
for the rest of his life.
Yeah. His grandma used to get she gets a lot of anxiety. My wife did a little bit, you know, and she knew how to curb it. And I mean, I don't think I've ever really acknowledged my anxiety until I really got a whole big dose of it, and it's like, oh, okay, now I need to adjust, and it's not easy to do. So
No, I believe it.
it's a work in progress. But when you're on the path and you get those little wins, like what you were saying, you know, you come out the other side, and you can almost feel that you're on the right path. You're becoming the person you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then as you get to that point, new doors open up, and you become better again.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that's so awesome.
Yeah.
You know, for us to grow.
And you couldn't have seen those doors or even been in a situation where those things were even possible.
Yep.
You know, when I'm waking up and it's like, oh man, hangover.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just
Cloud of judgment.
Yeah, it just is what it is, you know, back then. And now I'm in a place where that's not even in my wheelhouse now.
You've helped me out when I first come back to school. And it was everything that I did in that area. Was it 2 years ago, whatever it was? It was a Hail Mary. How do I do this? Right?
Oh.
And I had a class. Actually, the class that I learned all this on ran into kids getting out of school, and I couldn't get them. And
okay,
everyone's like,
okay.
"Oh, there's an All Stars program," and I looked into it, and it's like closed. It's full.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, well, I can't do nothing." And someone said, "Just go and talk to someone about it."
Right.
And I reached out, and then someone gave me your number, and I reached out to you, and I didn't know who you were. Was a voice on the other end of the phone.
Sure, yeah.
And you're like, what's your situation? And I told you, and you were so gracious. You're like, I feel for you. This is, you know what? There is a spot. We have a couple of spots there. Let me just double check something. And straight away, man, you got back to me.
Oh.
I'm like, who is this guy? You're amazing. You know, like as far as I'm concerned, you were like, you know, up there.
Well, I'm glad. I remember this actually.
Yeah.
I do. And that's kind of the thing. Because we're expanding, I'm not in the schools like I used to be. So I don't have that connection with kids. I don't have that with parents. So, but I always say, you know, if they go online and it shows like full, or we're at our capacity or something like that, I feel like my position now is to help, number one, our kids, and by doing that, helping families. And so if there's a situation, then we're going to do it. We're going to take
you
care
were
of it.
open towards that.
Yeah.
I have to go here for 2 seconds, but tell me, like, how did you get What opened that up for you? When did this all start? I mean, this is the All Stars, and now you do Iron Kids, which you're wearing on your shirt right now.
Right.
Everyone can see that.
Yeah.
Where did that start from? Like, how did that get there?
That was back in Riverside, actually, is when I started. It was, I was 14, and my
When
mother
you have your
wanted
person
me
showing
to, she
Okay,
wanted
let
me
me
to
know
get
when
out of
they're
the house
here
and
and
get a
I'll-
job. So she worked at a
No, I
nearby
don't.
hospital and spoke to the
Okay.
lady and said,
Well, let me know when
"Here's
he's
this
here, and
summer
then I'll
camp.
shut this down, okay?
Have your son
Thank you
apply
so much.
here." So I went to the summer camp, and at 14, and I was there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't get done till like 5, and I made $50 every 2 weeks, and I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. And so, and in California, at summer camp, we had 150 kids coming. We were at a park. But there was a community building and a pool next to it. So the kids got to swim, they had outdoor activities, and inside the rec center, they would also play games. There was a kitchen, so we had to cook for the kids. We had to put on musical skits every week, which was wild. But it was a really cool experience. And then we also had field trips where we were taking the kids to Disneyland. We were taking them to the beach. We were taking them to Knott's Berry Farm, Universal, those things.
Yeah.
I just loved being a part of that. And I continued doing that for the next 3 summers. So that's initially where it started.
That's the seed planted.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I remember I got in trouble the last year I was there at work because we were at Knott's Berry Farm, and I'm 16 at this point, and there was a girl that I liked, and all the kids were gathered for lunch with a ton of staff, and so I told her, I said, "Hey, let's go ride Big Thunder Mountain," and so she said yes, and we went, and because it was real close to where we were all eating. And I talked to other people, other staff too. I like, "You cool about that?" Anyway, so we went, and as we were going to the ride, my supervisors came around the corner and saw us, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And we're like, we didn't even know what to say. They're like, "Where are the kids?" And we're like, they're like, "Go back to the group." So then after that, of course, I think the following Monday, I think that was on a Friday, so the following Monday, they brought me in, and there was a whole team of why I did what I did, made that choice. And so they were like, trying to ask, they're like, "What do you even want to do with your life?"
Whoa.
And I was like, well, and I remember saying, "I want to do what you guys do." And the whole room erupted, like laughing and laughing and laughing. And they were like, "Yeah, do something better than this." And I was like, that always stuck with me. Like, one, are you laughing because you think I can't do it? And two, do you not think enough of what you guys are doing that you don't find value in it, or you think this isn't important? And that always stuck with me. And so then from there, I moved to Sacramento. I had just odd jobs, but I moved to Sacramento, and I was in college, and I got a job working for a YMCA in the inner city, and that was rough. That was like daily heartbreaking.
And no budget.
Oh no, there was
Nothing.
nothing. Even though it was the YMCA, most of my job was just trying to get the kids to have fun, because almost every kid in that program, there was like maybe 25. We had a book, and that's what we had to write in it for what they said.
Logs and things.
If we saw new bruises, the abuse that they went through, and it was almost every kid. So that was rough. I didn't stay there long, but that really, more so than the summer camps. That was fun and all this stuff, but this was more like hey, these are things kids are going through. And, and my part, at least for them, was to put smiles on their faces, because it was sad. It was so sad. So from there, I then moved to Arizona, and I worked for a before and after school program. So in a school. So this is my first time being school based, and this is in Scottsdale. So these schools had money, and I saw what an after school program could be with the money, if you had the budget. And before school, I mean, they had a theater that we had access to, and the kids would put on plays, and if there was something new out that could be brought in for after school programs, that they got it, because it was Scottsdale, and a lot of wealthy people were having their kids.
There's so many billionaires that live there.
Yeah.
People don't know this.
Oh,
Scottsdale is extremely loaded.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're great people too. Like I've spent some time in Scottsdale. Hot place.
Yeah.
Really nice in wintertime.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I was on, even though when I moved there, Scottsdale, if you were to go to Scottsdale now, it is so blown up. I get lost driving around, even though that's where I spent like 8 years, or was it 8? No, it was only like 4 or 5. It was like one street, and it had a few things, but things were getting built up. So while I was there, it wasn't as flashy and had all that, but there were still people with a lot of money there. I worked at Smith's there as well. So between the before and after school program, I worked at Smith's for a little bit. And Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, he would come in the store all the time and talk, not so much me because I was a bagger, but the cashiers, my friends, he would talk with them and stuff like that. So the only reason I say that is because, just to kind of illustrate, there's a lot of people with a lot of money living in Scottsdale, even at that time. And so they would have their kids come to these after school programs, and these schools had big budgets for after school programs. So,
So you saw the pendulum swing from like the brokest of the broke and kids getting beaten and things like that, which is, that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Right up to, hey, we want to give them the best. What can you do for us? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, what you've got going on now is phenomenal. Did you run that program? You created that program down there?
Oh, no.
So it was already going?
It was already going. I just applied.
But you brought your information in.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because you got a lot of knowledge in that.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're doing now with Iron Kids, I can't even tell you, man. Like, just that my kids come home, I've just finished work, or sometimes I'm still working when I pick them up. I deliver boxes in the evening. Mm-hmm. Then we get home and they're all played out. I love it. So now it's like, okay, let's do our chores, let's read a book, let's go to bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they just go with it. Like, where before I'd have to really yell and scream, or like, come on guys, help me, and you're not helping me. And it's frustrating sometimes, especially being all me.
Sure.
And my kids are great, but they push your buttons just like every other kid. Like they'll test you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That blows my mind. Did you bring all this up here? Did you start all this here?
No, I was actually living in Canada.
You make sense though in Canada. You're a really nice guy. Canadians are nice until they play ice hockey.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So I was living in Canada, and my wife at the time, we moved here because her mom and stepdad are here. She wanted to be close with family because we were going to have our son. And so Cedar was so small. I mean, it still is, but it's
growing now.
Even more so,
And
so
we're at the top of the hour. You're listening to KSUU. Thank you for Cedar City. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. So we moved here, and I started looking for after-school programs to work in. And there was one. This lady, her name's Gabby. I interviewed with her, and she was running community cares. It was already an established program, and she needed to hire new people. I applied, and she told me no. And then the person she hired decided they didn't want to take the job. So then she called me, and we're off to the races from there. So then I worked for community cares for 3 years or so. And then something happened. I'm not exactly sure what, but the community cares program was coming to an end. And so that's when I was like, okay, well, I'm out of a job. These families are out of a place, to send their kids. The kids are out of a place. So not knowing anything on the business end of how to do an after school program, let alone multiple sites. We started in 2004, 2006, I can't remember which. Here,
wow,
doing my own program. And at the time, it was called Red Rock Kids Club. And we were at 6 schools for a bit. Then the housing market crashed. and so people lost their jobs. Some of the factories that were here closed down, and they certainly, we were not a nonprofit because I didn't know anything about that. So it was just a for-profit, and it wasn't much. I can't even remember what we were charging for tuition, but it wasn't even $100 a month. And their kids were coming, for like, I don't know, 60 hours a month or something like that.
Wow.
So, but we ended up losing program sites because nobody was sending their kids because they didn't have a job. So I was able to hang on to Fiddler's Elementary and East Elementary. And we were able to keep those 2 schools going for years and years until we became a nonprofit and grant-based. And that's when things started to explode.
Open up for you.
Yeah.
Whilst you were going to get to that process, is that where it pushed you in to start looking for more donations in general? Because I mean, you have to work with a lot of people. I'm sure you have to. I mean, this is not cheap. There's like for my kids to be there. Like, I thank you so much, man, because I couldn't afford that. Like, I don't live off much at all.
Yeah. The donations, and back then, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't do it. To be honest, I went to 2 different charitable organizations, but just to not disparage the name because they're big.
Sure.
They were absolute zero help. I went in and I gave a presentation. I'm saying, hey, these are the families that we're trying to help. And this was specific for summer camp because, again, this was a for-profit at the time. And these families couldn't afford it, even though back then, I think summer camp was like $100 a week. And that's where it stayed for the longest time until we got a grant that would help out in the summer. But I'm like, here's these families. This is what we're asking. And this is what they're going to get out of it. And zero. But that's not necessarily just to say that it was all them. It could have been my presentation because I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was just, there was no mentor for me. There wasn't any group or organization that I knew of that I could get training or anything. It was just me trying to figure it out year after year after year. But when I turned to a nonprofit, and I always wanted to, but accountants and other people were saying, no, you want to be a for-profit. This is, you don't want to be nonprofit. And I listened to them because I thought that they knew. And as it turned out, I knew what I was doing all along, but I decided to not go with my gut, my heart, and listen to people because that was their profession and they knew better. But at least so I thought. And then once we turned nonprofit, like I said, that's when things really started to change, and we could actually help out. The vision that I had for Red Rock Kids Club, now Iron Kids, is starting to come to fruition now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So and right now you're in Iron Kids, and this is going. You're probably over halfway now. You're well on your way with summer and everything, the program.
Correct.
Do you have spots there at the moment? Can people get a hold of you? And
we do. In fact, over the weekend, I was asked if we have spots open, and we do for this week and next week, and then the following week we're closed up. But again, if there's a situation where, hey, this family needs to have their kid come, we're going to take the kid.
Yeah.
Their kid is going to, be safe and taken care of. at least for that week or whatever it might be, we'll figure out the money end.
Yeah.
You know, we'll figure that out. There's always a possibility, you know,
love that.
of how we can help. Now we purposely set aside at about 10 spots, like say for
emergency.
summer. Yeah.
Oh.
And just so we can help out families that, you know, are going through a rough patch. We purposely do that, and then the hope is that we can get some sponsorship that will help out with, you know, the cost.
Right.
So,
and you do have sponsors at the moment too, right?
We do. In fact, I'd like to, if I can, give a little shout out to
plug away.
The Rotary Club. They want to
Awesome.
make this an annual sponsorship. So like every summer, I believe, at least that's what we were told. There's going to be a presentation to the Rotary Club that I'm going to do. So they can see what it is they did, what the kids participated in, and that kind of a thing. So I think they're going to be pretty happy. I talk with those families, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we love having our kids here. It's been such a great thing." So so I might get some parent testimony as well. You
Good.
know? So and then out at Parowan, we have the Southwest Behavior. They sponsored almost the whole program out in Parowan for the summer. We could not do a summer program out in Parowan without sponsorship. There's not a chance. So it's not as big as Cedar. They only have like 30 spots available, with only like, you know, I think on a good day, maybe like 18, 20 coming, something like that. But that's kind of how it begins out there. You know, it starts out slow, and then it starts to grow, word of mouth, and having more of a presence in the community, so that they know, hey, this is a place for kids and for working families, or even a place where maybe the family's home, but the kid's better off with us, you know, for those hours. So so those two are the big ones right now.
Yeah, I'll touch on that for a second, because it's like what you say, is, you know, even if they're not working, man, especially if you don't have means to work, or you can't work, or whatever the case, whatever your situation is, being trapped in a house with kids day in, day out, I mean, unless you're really got a good understanding of things, you know, it's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
So for you guys to open that door is absolutely amazing. I love the fact that, like, you start at 9 o'clock in the morning. You have an early start at 8:30 if you want, you know, but that's a little bit extra.
Right.
You know, my mornings are clear now. I go hit the gym. You know, you give me some space, man. I thank you so much. Like, I don't have much space.
No, I get it.
To me, it's huge.
No, I get it. My day actually starts at getting up at 4:30 because I need my space too, and and the gym really helps. If I can get in the gym for like an hour and a half, and then go home and then get things dialed in, I'm so much better than if I don't. So I get it. We all need that. Yeah. Because when I get home, I am exhausted, and then it doesn't end, because I may get home at 6, but then it's like I get phone calls, I get emails, and we got to get, and then cancellations with reservations that we have the next day. It doesn't end till, like, for me, like 9, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. Most nights.
Like, I'll touch on that a little bit. Like, you do. I've seen you move and you pivot and you organize it so well. You're on. Every time I go there, I'm wondering when you take break, because every time I've been there, I think I've seen you every single time. Maybe once or twice I haven't seen you, but then I driving out, your car's there, you're somewhere else. You know, your truck's there.
Yeah.
And I just think, man, that's pretty hefty load. I didn't even know you had Parowan going as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that, because you had to change a couple of days, and man, as soon as, like, once it all happened, you gave us plenty of notice. You know,
we tried to.
Yeah, we tried. And it's tricky, but when you do have a late notice, you're there speaking with everybody. right?
Yeah.
You're like, hey, do this. Like they went down roller skating. Make sure you sign the waiver. Please don't make me make 100 phone calls to get everyone to sign a waiver.
Right.
You know, so your kids can just enjoy the time. I think
Yeah.
I signed it twice just to make sure. You know what I mean?
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And everything got dialed in that day, so
Oh,
that was
awesome.
great.
So the premise you put in place was working.
Yeah, for
Nice.
sure. Because the last thing you want is for the kids to be excited to go someplace, and then they get there, and then it's like, oh, well, your parents didn't fill this thing out, or this didn't work out, and so we have to wait, and then I have to call, and a lot of times my call doesn't get picked up, and then we just have to wait and
That's
wait.
hard.
And it's hard for the kid, and so, but everything worked out just beautifully this past Friday to go roller skating and whatnot. So
the other thing my kids like, I have a board of Monday through Sunday, Sundays to Sundays, all the whole thing, and I write everything what's coming up on the week. You send the email out over the weekend. I'm like, and since I get it, it's here, and they know exactly what I'm going to do next. I walk over to that board and I write down what Monday is, what Tuesday is, what Wednesday is, and I know exactly where to pick you up. I know exactly where to drop you off. All you need to do is just open that email and read it, take some snapshots, and you always got it in your phone as well, which I do the same too.
Right.
And they watch it. Like I couldn't even secretly put it on the board without them. Hey, you didn't tell us. You know.
Oh, well,
I just
that's
thought
cool. That's way cool.
They love it.
That's really neat that you are taking a part in their summer and making it so they know
it's an event.
Yeah. Well, that's cool because a lot of kids come and they're like, "What are you doing today?" I'm
my
like,
that's scary to me because the reason why I do it, I'm trying to make my kids independent as much as possible.
Absolutely.
This is the summer of no screens, unless we watch a movie every now and then. You got to give them something, but there's no screens. All reading. Jack's already finished Fablehaven, the whole series.
Oh wow!
From the start of summer.
That is awesome.
Oh, it's so crazy.
That's inspiring. That's inspiring because
it's amazing.
I have like this list of things that I do. Come January 1st and all this stuff, and reading more books is on. I think I've read one. and so you're telling me Jack has read this year? I've read one book. Hopefully, I have a few more books. Well, I have a ton of books, but I just never get to them. But hopefully that'll be something I can do. That's awesome though that Jack has read.
Dude,
the series,
the whole series. He's on a Harry Potter now, and he's waiting for the new some dragon thing. I've got to go buy. I don't have the money at the moment. But
that's awesome.
Cole's on the second book. He's 7 years old. He has never been a strong reader. He come out of school, his writing's not so great, and his reading's atrocious. And now he's down there, and I check him every 3 chapters, tell me the chapters. And I make sure Jack says so he can double check him.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But having that is just, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
And so I point with the calendar, what's today? What clothes do you need? Oh, they're doing the color bomb thing, whatever it was, the other day. It's like, okay, get those clothes off. Here, I'll give you some white stuff, and and they had such a ball, man. But they love the fact that they're planning their own day for what you guys are doing, and every day you guys do something.
Yeah,
ice skating in Cedar City. Who'd ever thought that would happen, huh?
I know, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah. Shout out to KJ's Ice Barn. I've been kind of working loosely with them. For years now. So finally to see their dream come to fruition.
I need to get them in here.
You really should.
I want to hear the story.
Alyssa Fain is who you need to talk to, and she's awesome. So now I'll tell her when we go to the rink. I'll pass it along.
Yeah.
So
maybe I'll show up and I'll be there for a hot minute so she can meet who I am.
Yeah.
I think it'll be great. Is there so the grants for 25? What'd you get there?
Okay.
How's that work?
So we've been grant-based for a few years now, whether it's a DWS grant, so Department of Workforce Services grant, or maybe some other things. COVID, they were throwing out money like crazy just to make sure that kids had a place. So we've had grants like that, like the one from Southwest this year. But we wrote for, it's called the School Age Quality Grant 2025-28 or something like that. I forget the years, but I think that's it. And so we wrote for that, and I will have to say, my wife, she does the majority, the heavy lifting of putting the words in, putting the right verbiage in, making everything,
coherent.
Yep, and she does an amazing job because we've had these grants now for a while now. I'm trying to think. I think we're on this will be our, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. This might be our 7th year on a grant.
That's
being
awesome.
grant-based. And that, by being grant-based, we can provide after-school programming for free. So there's no out-of-pocket cost for parents. It's just a matter of getting their kids registered and then us getting to capacity. Then it becomes a little tricky. So, but for the most part, that the grant is a game changer of how many employees we can have, the staffing, the supplies, the equipment, all that goes along with it. So this new grant, we knew that we wanted to expand. We're at that point because we're at capacity every site. So we wrote in for Kanab, Hurricane, St. George, and South Elementary here in Cedar. So this grant was for total for the next 3 years is $2.3 million, and we got it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It really is. So it's different in the sense that we now have to have 4 employees at each site. Our leadership position is called a site coordinator. They are now working 30 hours as opposed to just when programming is.
Yeah.
So it's becoming more of a full-time position for those people, which is great because I think that's.
And they're getting paid well?
They're getting paid. Yeah, they get paid really well. They get paid getting close to what a teacher would make hourly.
Rightly so, man. Because like I've noticed about your stuff that you've got, there's always something going on or whatever the case, but you can drop bombs on them and they just handle things very well. You've chosen the people to be there, and I think you've done a really good choice. You know what I mean? Like they're great people.
We try in the interview process to really vet them out. Sometimes we're not so good at. But
they don't last. Yeah, and they move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
or I help them move on because I am so protective of who is working with kids, because the kids naturally will look up to that staff.
Yep.
And if they're not engaged with kids, if they're on their phone, if they're on their computer, and they're not engaging with kids, I will make sure that their time with Iron Kids comes to an end and we can get somebody in there that is actually there for the kids. That's what I want. And that, we've had to let a few people go because of those types of things. As crazy as it sounds, like why would you want to work with kids and then just open up your computer and be on your computer staring at the screen?
Well, I mean, they're kids. They're always going to get into stuff. They're always doing something. But you've got them all divided up in their areas. They have different leaders for different groups, from what I gather, and it works It's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
So it's just here, and it's Parowan. Is that right? Is that the location?
Or? Yep. And our goal is to have a summer camp in St. George. St. George has been asking for a summer camp for years and years, but logistically, financially, how to do it has always been an issue. But I think this upcoming summer we'll finally be able to have that presence and doing and have summer programming down there. Hopefully, we'll have some summer grants, so that way we can bring down the cost. We've had those grants in the past, then they've expired. And the last 2 years, they're like, there's no funding for summer programming.
That's crazy.
Yeah, right now, funding in a lot of areas are getting hit, just with, the cuts that are happening. Yep. And so I know 21st Century. That's a huge grant that affects thousands, and just here in Utah. Thousands of kids, families. That budget is in jeopardy. I'm not exactly sure, but I think the cuts are, what they're saying is it's going to be a slim budget. What does that mean? But we're talking up in Salt Lake, there's programs that run after school programming with 200 kids coming.
Ouch.
They use their whole school building, and I believe they're 21st century, so I don't know how that will look for them. I know here in town, we don't have 21st century to my knowledge here in town. So, and thankfully,
Yeah.
I guess, otherwise we'd be in some serious
You'd
trouble.
be in a pinch.
Yeah. And I know there was some issues with 4-H. I know 4-H, unless something's changed, 4-H won't be returning next school year. And so middle schools and some of the elementary schools where we have programming, they're gone. So yeah, it's kind of scary, but luckily, kind of like back to the Matrix, I feel like we're Neo and just dodging those bullets.
Yeah. You're fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
The one thing that people don't understand is you do have a well-staffed situation right now.
Yeah.
And the one thing that would carry you, I believe, for you to be able to expand into St. George is you need that funding to keep those people with you.
Oh,
and they have to step up
absolutely.
in a leader position, because if you're down there starting that, you're not up here.
Right.
You really need to anchor them, and you've got some really good people there. Mr.
Yeah.
Jaden, my goodness, he's an amazing guy too.
Yeah.
He's going to be a super strong leader for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think he already has the way how he steps up. He's very level-headed. He's a young dude.
Yeah.
And he's got great potential.
He really does. And what you're saying is absolutely true. Because we're an after-school program. Before they were getting paid for 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
Less than part-time.
Yeah.
And
we need a salary for him or something.
Yeah. And now they're able to get 30 hours a week. So we're almost there to that 40, and they do get paid well.
Good.
They do get paid well. That's for sure. So this is helping, and we're able to offer benefits. Where we couldn't before. The benefits aren't that great, and most likely hardly anybody will take it, but it's offered, it's on the table. So there's those types of things. And some of the when I became a nonprofit and we got into when I got into after school programming, I was just like, okay, well, I guess I got to work with a company called the Utah After School Network, and if you're grant based, they kind of help guide you to in professional development, any kind of training. And at first I was like kind of dragging my feet going, okay, this is going to suck. But what happened was it's called Jumpstart. I went to that just on my own to see what it was all about. And it opened my eyes. It was very professional. It was like the help and that I got as far as this is how you can manage your classroom. This is how you deal with troubled kids. This is how any topic, they had something there for me that I could resources I could pull from.
That's awesome.
So now it's a mandatory thing where we have to take the entire staff there for that training. And throughout the years that I've been associated with the Utah After School Network, it's been a blessing. They've really helped open my eyes to how this is nationally, because we now go to national professional development, national conferences. And I think, we were in Nashville, Tennessee last year. We'll be in Washington, D.C. this year.
Nice.
And it just kind of shows this isn't just babysitting. There is a whole machine behind after school programming, and it needs to be treated like a business. Like I mentioned, 2.3 million, that's not a babysitting thing. That is dispersed over, so many different line budgets that it sounds like a lot.
It's not.
And it is, but you're right.
Once you get going, it's gone.
Yeah, in the end, like before we had to make some adjustments, before everything was final, we had, I think it was $100 a month for supplies.
That's a tight budget to me, man.
Because all the other that money had to be tied into, a lot of it was having 4 employees, the insurance that comes with it, the wages. So it's wild.
We're running out of time, and I'm sorry to do that to you.
No, you're good.
Have we touched on everything that you would like to sort of talk about?
One last thing, as far as sponsorship, for the past few years, we've been getting food from the Boys and Girls Club, and I certainly appreciate that because some of our grants don't allow for us to purchase food. So the Boys and Girls Club have been a blessing in getting food to kids. So I really appreciate, them being able to provide that for
Yeah,
us.
shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
They do good work too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
Okay, great. I have one last question for you, and it could do with anything in the whole wide, whatever comes to your brain first.
Okay.
What makes the difference?
Oh, I think heart. For me, it's heart because, some people can overthink things, but what does your heart tell you? And I think that guides you into whatever it might be, into the right direction. And it's like everyone that knows me says I'm the heart of Iron Kids, and I take that seriously. So
I love that. Yeah. Heart, compassion, and things like that just
Sure.
drives the beast. Thanks, James. I appreciate you coming in, man.
Thank you. This is awesome.
I've been hounding you to do this for a while now, and I thank you so much because you've got a great story,
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
We'll get you in another time and we'll talk some more. I think we could have went for a few more hours, to be honest with you.
Probably.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, man. Oh, YouTube. Thank you so much. We're out. Come on, man.